Hi, John. Thank you for your letter. I find the timing of this email to be curious since we have a board meeting scheduled for tomorrow. In your email, you painted a very vague picture, so allow me to fill it in for you. Since before Joni even married Doug, she's been threatening to throw us all out of Daystar if we didn't fully support her marriage. We have the recording where she said this, and Doug laughed, saying he wouldn't allow her to do that. In that meeting, Suzy and I both clearly told Joni, and Doug that they have the free will to get married, but we stand on Matthew 19:9, and that since Doug's ex-wife Lisa had not cheated on him, getting remarried would be considered adultery. So we asked that they honor our stance. To show support for my mother and her decision, we attended her...
I can't go against my convictions in that, and I'm not challenging.
Don't come back then.
Okay.
You're gone. Okay. You're fired. If right. You can't read a nice comment about Doug, I don't want you here. Yeah. You won't do the green room. You won't do anything. Okay.
The letter that changed everything. It all started with a single email. At first glance, it seemed like just another message, an ordinary communication from Daystar's attorney, John Lynch. But what followed was anything but ordinary. This email became the spark that ignited a firestorm no one saw coming. Jonathan Lamb, the son of Joni and the late Marcus Lamb, didn't just reply. He responded with a letter so passionate, so bold, that it left many stunned. His words carried weight, filled with emotion and conviction. But more than that, his letter contained revelations, claims so shocking that they would shake the very foundation of everything people thought they knew. What exactly did Jonathan's letter reveal? What truths lay hidden between the lines? Let's dive deeper and uncover the story that changed everything.
Hi, John. Thank you for your letter. I find the timing of this email to be curious since we have a board meeting scheduled for tomorrow. In your email, you painted a very vague picture, so allow me to fill it in for you. Since before Joni even married Doug, she's been threatening to throw us all out of Daystar if we didn't fully support her marriage. We have the recording where she said this, and Doug laughed, saying he wouldn't allow her to do that. In that meeting, Suzy and I both clearly told Joni, and Doug that they have the free will to get married, but we stand on Matthew 19:9, and that since Doug's ex-wife Lisa had not cheated on him, getting remarried would be considered adultery. So we asked that they honor our stance. To show support for my mother and her decision, we attended her wedding because we love her. The decision is between her and God. A month after her wedding, she walked out the threats she had been making the whole year prior. On Ministry Now, my wife and I said we were not going to read a card because it went against our convictions when we kindly asked for it to be switched out for another viewer comment. However, Joni told the producer that we could read that or nothing, so we had no other option but to choose nothing. Instead of honoring our request, which we have spoken since day one, which is not to let her marriage interfere with our jobs, we were taken to her office where Joni ambushed us with a meeting with Jimmy Evans, where we were verbally abused, mocked, threatened, and told we'd be forced to do something which violated our consciences. Jimmy told us that we had no room to follow our convictions or consciences since Joni was the voice of God at Daystar. To taunt Suzy, Joni even brought up the most painful thing in our lives, the molestation of our 5-year-old and another event that occurred on our family vacation a year prior in 2021. She blamed Suzy, the grieving mother of the victim, for trying to destroy our family. I must add that when we returned from the family vacation, Suzy and I were told to submit and never talk about this again, and we did. We never talked about it. This hasn't been brought up since that day in that meeting with you and Jimmy. When Suzy didn't react to this, she was called prideful. She was even called evil in the meeting with a host of other names. As you know, we have this evidence. When Suzy chose to stand by her convictions, Joni told her she was fired, and I was then threatened for a long period of time by Joni and Jimmy to also read a card or I would be fired next. You will remember that I had called you the evening of July 11th. I remember I called you that night in this absolute state of shock, seeking help because of what had just transpired. That night and the weeks to follow, my wife and I suffered great trauma, anguish, and suffering. We were stonewalled with no proper communication, and the immediate consequence was to be removed from on-air appearances on television. Because of all this spiritual abuse, manipulation, and control, all we asked was for accountability and to fix what was done wrong, where we did not have to read a false statement on air about a sabbatical, when indeed we were being brutally punished for standing by our convictions. Daystar has always stood for marriage and against censorship. These were our beliefs to the core, and when Daystar has taken a wrong turn with my mother's actions, we don't just go along with it. We want things done right before God. In your email, you whitewashed all that was done to us and trivialized the situation. We have always stood for truth. Though all this has been done to us, Suzy and I have ever been willing to run towards peace and true reconciliation. For that, there must be genuine repentance. You can do that. All these months later, we are still willing to work towards healthy reconciliation, but there's no room for deception, manipulation, or cover-ups, which is what this is all about. I look forward to discussing all this and more in the board meeting tomorrow. Sincerely, Jonathan Lamb.
According to him, during a private meeting with Joni, Suzy, and Pastor Jimmy Evans, Joni Lamb scolded Suzy over a deeply sensitive matter, an alleged SA involving a child. But instead of addressing the matter with care and urgency, Jonathan claimed that Joni's response was something else entirely. Silence. Submission. No questions, no discussions, just obedience. That was the first red flag. But what happened next would only make things worse. In what seemed like an unrelated event, Jonathan and Suzy made a simple yet fateful decision, one they never expected would cost them everything. During a live broadcast, they chose not to read a particular viewer comment on air. The comment? A message praising Joni's new husband, Doug Weiss. For those unfamiliar, Doug Weiss is a recently divorced sex therapist, a man Joni married not long after the passing of Marcus Lamb. Now remarriages aren't unusual, but in this case, their choice to remain silent about Joni's new marriage didn't go unnoticed.
She was completely convinced. And by the way, I didn't tell Doug this story. I think you said that I did, but I haven't told him everything.
Wait, what?
So
I didn't say you told Doug that.
There was an instance where
I never said you told Doug that.
There was an issue with and I'm not going to tell you that because I know they wouldn't want me to share it. But Suzy was completely convinced, and Jonathan was completely convinced that was doing something that he absolutely was innocent of. And it was a terrible thing that happened in our family.
I can't go against my convictions in that, and I'm not challenging.
Don't come back then.
Okay.
You're gone.
Okay.
You're fired.
That's right.
You can't read a nice comment about Doug, I don't want you here.
Yeah.
You won't do the green room. You won't do anything. Okay. There has to be a change of heart. I have to see that, because if I don't see that, and if I know they don't respect and honor me, and they don't respect and honor him, he's been nothing but a blessing to me, an incredible husband the month that I've been married to him. He doesn't want to take over Daystar. I think really the fear here is not that he would interfere in Daystar. I think the fear is that somehow they think they're losing something by him coming. But that's a lie from the enemy. It's just not true.
We haven't done one thing to
And
him.
so
I just mind my business and go home.
No, you have been rude, both of you. I was with his daughter and his son-in-law this weekend. And like, for instance, even today I told Alicia, tell Jonathan, back to you, Mom and Doug, and he refuses to do it. And then today I said, no, tell them for sure. And she said, we'll keep reminding everyone to say back to Joni and Dr. Doug. So I love you both, but this is going to end. You submit or you leave. I'm not going to come in the studio. There will be another viewer feedback that says something nice about Doug. If you can't read it, then you don't need to be on the show. And then you don't need to come back the next day either. Mm-hmm. I'm just telling you, I don't want it to be this way, but he is a godly man. You know what I saw with his kids this weekend? We were with Hadassah and Chase, that's his daughter and son-in-law. And the respect and honor that they had for their father, knowing everything they've gone through, which divorce is not easy, we know that. Oh. And the respect and honor that they showed me, my kids pale in comparison to how they've treated him like shit. I mean, I'm just telling you, it is so disrespectful. Marcus Lamb would kick Jonathan's butt if he was alive right now, in the way and the things he's done, the things he said, the fact that he would care more about what people think and his reputation than honoring his mother. That's what he did. He'll have to live with that. But I'm just saying that I am drawing the line in the sand today. This will end. The day I dismissed him from the program, Doug didn't even know what was going on. Of course, he'll get blamed for everything, but he knew nothing of it. The fact that the Lord spoke to me about having him co-host with me, because he's now my husband and because he's gifted, he has a degree in theology, and he's a godly man, and a husband and wife team is what it was, Marcus and Joni show.
You're feeding each other. And when you said that you're the leader of the home, I don't doubt that, but you're not being a good leader. You're not being a good leader here, you're not being a good leader at home. Because what Suzy needs right now is the encouragement to submit, not the encouragement to keep wrangling. And what you need is a leader. See, as a leader, you have to be a follower. Jesus said, I do nothing unless I see my Father doing it. Jesus was a great leader because he was a great follower. You're a terrible follower right now. And you've always been great. You and your mom have always, and see, here's the point. You've always done what your mom said because you agreed with it. Now you don't agree. A follower does, when Jesus said, not my will, but yours be done in the Garden of Gethsemane, what he was saying is, every bone in my body doesn't want to do this, but I'll do what you want, not what I want. That's the only reason we have a Savior, is he did that. So right now you're saying, not your will, my will be done. You're insisting that you get what you want related to Doug. And that's not going to happen.
You have been the most loyal and faithful son. You don't have nothing to fear from me, but I am putting my foot down on this. And you either come along with me or you leave. And I don't want you to leave. He's on everything I own. He's the only child that is on every account. He could steal all my money right now if he wanted to. That's how much I trust him. If my actions don't show my trust and love for him, I mean, can you believe that? Doug signed a prenup. He knows he'll never have a position of leadership here. But is he my husband? Is he called alongside? Has he been a tremendous blessing to me? Do I go home to him at night? Does he feel a void that God knew I needed to carry the load that I'm carrying right now? Do I take it very seriously, what I do? Will I continue to take it seriously? Has Daystar grown more in the last year than at any other time in its existence? Probably because Marcus Lamb's on the other side helping us. We know that.
So I have spent days and days on my face before God because all I've ever known is submission. I have never been one to challenge anything. The reason you said you don't know where it turned is because I started to feel all sorts of things in my spirit where it just didn't sit right. And my form of submission is doing my little job here and going home to my kids. I don't ever question anything you do. I just stick to that. I have one boundary, whereas I won't fake something. I don't feel it's my conviction. And if on those grounds you have to fire me, then you have to do that. But I do my job. I talk about God. And I feel like that is reasonable.
Suzy, you said that your job was to talk about God. That's not your job. Your job is to do what she says.
Even if it goes against my convictions.
If your convictions are so strong, you need to quit.
I'm not going to quit. God has not given me permission. If I'm fired, that's fine. But I don't have permission from God to do it.
Yeah. And what we're saying in here today is submit or leave. And so you're saying you'll have to fire me. So she needs to know that.
I don't have permission from God to leave. I've felt uncomfortable on the show. I've been trying to process my own way.
It'll be your decision. You'll either submit or you'll leave. I mean, and I will fire you.
This is submission.
If you don't submit.
That's what you have to do.
Well, that's what will happen. That will be your decision. Same thing with you, Jonathan.
Not mine. My job is the Daystar is ministry to God, not talking about Doug. But if that is coming against you,
is not your ministry, is not your responsibility. You wouldn't have a ministry today if it weren't for Daystar.
You're right.
Nobody would know who you are.
Right.
And so with that comes great responsibility.
Yep.
So a lot of things in the heart have been revealed through this process that I see.
Your job is to please her. When she has a smile on her face, you did your job. Your job is not to come and talk about God and go home. Your job is to come and please the boss and go home. So she's not pleased. She's not happy. And so Daystar Network is going to go forward with her at the helm. And you're either with her or you're not. And when I say with her, I mean 100%. I'm not saying 99%, and I'm not saying that you sit and don't talk about Doug or whatever. You've got to talk to Doug. You've got to talk about Doug. You've got to read whatever she wants you to read on the air. And if that's something you can't do, I respect you if you leave, but not if you stay.
I didn't want to reiterate in that meeting, Jimmy said if you can't submit to the authority, then you need to remove yourself. And she said, he said, would you read a viewer comment? And she said, no, I didn't. And
That's
I
not-
said, you have basically fired.
That's not what the recording says.
You submit to my authority or you don't. It's not a lie.
It's a lie if I say something
It's
that
not,
I don't
it has nothing
believe.
to do with you.
If
So
I
you
say
don't
something, I
believe
don't
that
believe
Doug's a
it.
good man.
I'm not gonna just
It
make
has
stuff.
nothing to do with you. It is a viewer comment. It's not a Susie comment. It's a viewer comment.
I can't go against my convictions in that, and I'm
Then
not
don't
challenging.
come back then.
Okay.
You're gone. You're
Okay.
fired.
And Doug Weiss has been nothing but an incredible blessing to me. I'm as happy as I have ever been in my life. That may be hard for you to hear.
You're happier now than you've ever been with Dad?
I am happier now than I've ever been.
Even happier than we were with Dad?
I loved your dad with all my heart, okay? They're two different men. I'm just saying, I would think that you would be happy.
No, but are you saying that you're happier now with Doug than you ever were with Dad?
Jonathan,
No, I'm just saying, I'm just asking.
Let's take a step back. Jonathan and Suzy were a major part of Daystar. They weren't just employees, they were family. So ask yourself this, why would they be removed so suddenly? Was it truly because of their work? Or was it because they wouldn't publicly support Joni's marriage? Jonathan's claims, if true, suggest that something much deeper is happening behind the scenes. Did they stand for truth and face consequences? Or was this just a case of workplace disagreements gone too far? What do you think? This situation has stirred up a lot of emotions in the Christian community. Some believe Jonathan and Suzy were unfairly pushed out. Others say Joni had every right to move forward with her life and make the decisions she did. But now, I want to hear from you. Was Jonathan and Suzy's removal justified? Or do you believe they were punished for not supporting Joni's new marriage? Let's talk about it in the comments. And if you want to stay updated on stories like this, stories that affect the faith community, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Until next time, stay strong, stay faithful, and as always, stay blessed.